Oh, good morning, guys. Let's get our day started, shall we? I'm here at the Rudders in Milroy, PA, and I've become very much a fan of their burrito, their breakfast burrito. Very good way to take in some carbs, take in some high protein and very low carb. So they make an amazing breakfast burrito for those PA folk, the people that run PA a lot. You know what I'm talking about. Rudders and Sheets are about the same. But we'll eat this and get on the road and head home. Oh man, here we go, people. Doing all week's worth of Chicago this week. And I'll be doing a Chicago round every single night. Not looking forward to it one bit, but hey, I asked for this. Next week we're going on a cruise, and I'll be off for the majority of that week. So I asked the boss man if I could do Chicago's this week, because if you do Chicago all week, there's a little bit more money to be made. So yeah, we're doing that this week. Not looking forward to it. You've seen how I feel about Chicago. And it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. I'm working on about 3 hours of sleep because it's Monday, so I'm just now starting, and I spent the day with the family, of course. So, and I bought a new drum set. Oh my God. I have not had a drum set since I was in high school. No, I take that back, college. I went to college for drums. That's one thing I will brag on myself about. I was a tremendous drummer, and as life went on, I just kind of let it fall by the wayside. But I'm getting back into it, and we're going to start doing some drumming, people. Right after this darn light goes back to green because it didn't see a freaking 18-wheeler coming. It's the first time in I don't know how long that I've been to Georgia. A long time. About to go over one of those weigh-in motion scales. Bypass the weigh station. Don't mind if I do. Bit of a different run today. Same customer, but we're heading down to Conley, Georgia, just on the south side of Atlanta, and then we got to go from there, take an empty from there to Morrow, Georgia, and pick up a trailer full of empty totes and bring it back up to Cincy. Cake work. Tell you what, absolute cake work. Here soon we'll go over an update on my experience here at Red Eye. Give you guys, I might go over some numbers. Now, what the hell? I will go over some numbers. Show you guys exactly why it's a good idea to get off that spot market and find somebody that can give you some customer freight. It's very vital right now to have customer freight. Just saying. I know there's some people on the spot market right now, but they are struggling. I don't know if one person is still on the spot market that says it's a good place to be, and they're having, they're doing great, Well, I'll say that I will add the caveat here that as far as drive-in and even reefer go, you know, they're not doing so hot on the spot market. Now, if you're doing some OD, over dimensional, you know, like on the, or even open deck in general, like on the channel Haul and Cash, he's doing pretty decent. But I'm pretty sure he's also got some customers. But even if he doesn't have any direct customers, he's got brokers that he deals with that he doesn't even have to get on the load boards for. So, you know, that's you know, pretty much just as good also right there. You got the brokers in your back pocket that, you know, you can rely on and get some good loads out of. You know, you're not just scrolling through the load board all willy-nilly at the beginning of the day to see what just might be in your area. That's where people are getting in trouble, because there's really nothing on in anybody's area if you wait till the last minute. Alright, let's go ahead and mosey on down here to wonderful, no traffic Atlanta. Just kind of wanted to talk a little bit about something I've been thinking about a lot lately, because you see it a lot on YouTube. You see a lot of people having trouble with the industry right now on YouTube. You know, you see a lot of drivers, you see a lot of, you know, for lack of a better term, complaining, things like that. And rightfully so. It's getting hard out there, getting extremely difficult out here on the road. But I kind of just had a question for a lot of you guys out there. What do you all consider to be successful? What's your definition of success? Is there a monetary value? Is it time at home? Is it this? Is it that? Just like, what's your definition of success? It's something I've had to think about a lot. You know, because I don't, you know, I don't talk about it a lot. Like, I don't want to sound like I'm, you know, boasting at all, but I do work a lot. You know, that may not even be boastful. That might be a negative, but I work my butt off. I really do. I work my butt off out here. And it's all for, you know, to provide a better life for my family. And I never make steps backwards. I always make steps forward. So I was thinking about it the other day, and I'm like, if I had to say what success is, especially right now in this market, I don't really have a monetary value per se. My idea of success is watching somebody adapt. Adaptation. That's the key right there. That's the word of the day, is adaptation. If you're able to adapt and you're still out here on this market and you're still making money, you're still fighting, you're still doing what you can, and you're cutting the fat as you need to, just like I need to. That's such an old joke. But if you're cutting the fat as you need to, you're trimming it on your business, and you're doing what you have to, even if you don't want to, but you're adapting, and you're still out there because of your adapting and making money. That is my definition of success, especially right now. You know, there are some people that have made some sacrifices and done things that they don't want to do out here. You know, and they have, they've done it with the best of intentions, and they're still fighting. They're still making money. They've just had to cut back on some things, or, you know, like I've got a friend of mine who, you know, he had to, I won't say his name as he watches the channel, but he had to, basically he had to give up his numbers that he worked extremely hard for, and sell his drive-in. And he did that and signed his truck on. He kept his truck. He signed his truck onto a carrier. He adapted. He did what he didn't want to do, but he made one last ditch effort. And you know, to stay in the game. And that's what you're seeing out here right now. You're seeing a lot of guys having to do that. And the ones that actually do it, those are the ones I consider beyond successful, because it's not easy to, to change how you've done things, especially when you are proud about what you've accomplished. It's not easy one bit. And anybody that can adapt to what's going on right now has my utmost respect. Absolutely. But see, here's the key right now. And I don't know if we're ever going to see this market get better. I'd like to say that we will. But the problem is we really screwed the pooch with COVID. What I mean by that is when rates inflated like they did, and they just went sky high, and we were taking loads for $5, $6, $7 a mile. Hell, even cross country, getting a 2,000 mile run for over 10 grand in some instances for just a drive-in, not specialty freight, nothing like that, just a drive-in. We really, and I'm as guilty as anybody. We absolutely took advantage of it, and it bit us in the ass. And that is coming to fruition right now, because what's happening right now, the reason rates are where they are, I don't feel like this is anything like it ever was. But as in, like, you would see a dip and then eventually it would rebound. I don't think we're going to see a rebound. Not on the spot market. The problem is what we did shed light on a problem that was in the industry that nobody really paid that much attention to, as far as the shippers go. They weren't really paying that much attention to it. They shipped the goods. They made them, they paid $2.50 a mile to ship a load, sometimes a little less than that. And they set a budget aside, for the shipment of their goods. And then that was their allowance, so to speak, on shipping everything that they shipped. How many times did I say ship in the last 30 seconds? So we absolutely blew that budget out of the water. And that forced these companies to rethink how they do things. And they started to primarily focus on ways to guarantee it doesn't happen again. Where something like that causes the inflation that it did in the market. So AI is becoming very, very, very predominant out here. A lot of brokers are using them. A lot of times you'll call a broker and they'll say that they can only do what the computer's letting them do. And that's not a lie. That is what's going on right now. The computer's only letting them do so much. All right. Computer's only letting them do so much. And then it might go up incrementally day by day until it gets to the day of. But brokers' hands are tied. I'm sure they've got some room. Some of them do. But you see people, like there was a guy I saw on Alex's, on the Mother Trucker channel. And he was just, he thought he knew. He's bound and determined that brokers are giving $400 loads while they have $2,500 in the load. And it's like, it ain't happening like that anymore. It's just, to me, he really showed his ignorance in the industry with what he was saying. There was very little he said that I agreed with. Very little. In fact, I commented on the video. It ain't like that right now. It is, we really messed up. We really did. We took advantage of it. And that is what is happening right now. That is why we're having, in my opinion, that's why we're having the issues that we are on the spot market, is because, they have really started fighting to find a new way around the spot market. Something else they're doing is, have you guys seen these warehouses going up? These warehouses are going up like crazy right now. They're putting up warehouse after warehouse after warehouse. And that's because they want more place to store the goods, to store what they, to store things. So, because we always used a on-demand system where, we didn't ship anything until boom, it was needed. And then we had to have it and ship it. But that's coming to an end too, the more they have available, the less on demand it's going to be. And the less on demand it is, the more the brokers and customer or shippers can wait to ship it. So there's going to be less going on the load board because brokers will be contacting, carriers that they deal with more often. And the carrier might tell them, well, yeah, I can ship that load, but I can't ship it until, Tuesday of next week. Broker says, okay, no problem. Can we do it for this rate? Broker might negotiate, or the carrier might negotiate a little bit. Broker says, okay, that's fine. We'll do it for that. And it's going to be that. They're not going to be putting them on the broker, on the spot market anymore, because they won't need to. They're going to be able to sit on the freight until a carrier that they trust has the time to take the freight. And that's what we're dealing with right now. That, in combination of the AI, it's a bad scenario for people that just want to live off the spot market. So you have to make changes out here. It's one thing I compare it to all the time when I talk to people on the phone about it is, up there on the Great Lakes, when there's a storm, especially on Lake Superior, storms on Lake Superior are like hurricanes. I mean, they really are hurricanes on a inland lake, on a freshwater lake, I should say. And the waves can get really bad. I mean, it's like a hurricane. It really is. And when that kind of storm comes up, the freighters up there have to seek refuge, right? They have to find the nearest, closest bay/harbor that they can get to safely and wait out the storm, right? That's what they have to do. A lot of times they do that. My dad used to live up in a place called Paradise, Michigan, and he lived on a dirt road, and his house was right on the shore of Whitefish Bay. So he could literally look out his front window from the, like if he's at the kitchen sink, he could look out his front window, and during a bad storm, he could see freighters just lined up in that bay as they awaited a break in the storm so they could continue their trip. And I'm sure we all are aware of the story of the incident that happened. I want to say it was 75, or was it? I think it was, wasn't it 75? The Edmonds Fitzgerald. It did not. There was a terrible storm, and the captain tried to get to Whitefish Bay. As the song goes, he went down 15 miles from the bay. As the Gordon Lightfoot song goes, he made it 15 miles away. Nobody knows what happened. Every single deckhand passed away. Every single deckhand, not a single one made it. So nobody could tell the story. But the last words ever heard from the captain of that ship was, "We're holding our own." Last thing that they ever heard. And then, again, as they had, I believe that they had, the sister ship to the Edmonds, had the lights of the Edmonds in its sight. And so that's why in the song they say, when the lights went out of sight, it became the wreck of the Edmonds Fitzgerald. It was because they were literally in sight of another ship. And then eventually it just wasn't in sight anymore. It sunk. Nobody knows how. It broke apart. They don't know if a wave broke it apart before it went down. They don't know if it broke apart when it hit the bottom, because the water there was only about 500 feet deep where it went down, and the ship itself was like 780 feet long. So the ship was longer than the water was deep. But the point of that is that, it's a very in-depth analogy of what I'm trying to say, is that, those of us that aren't able to make it to that harbor in time are going to go down. They just are. The spot market is not conducive anymore for what we used to use it for. It is not, and the spot market was never intended from the start to be used as a live off nonstop, moneymaker type deal. It was always used to get carriers back to where their dedicated freight was. But then, the spot market started, to get a little bit more lucrative, and more people started to use it as a sole means to an income out here. They stopped trying to get direct customers. They just used the spot market. Hell, there's companies out there with hundreds of trucks, and they only use the spot market. I don't know why. They have that kind of power. Why would they have that volume? They have that capacity, and they don't have direct customers. It's one thing when a single owner operator doesn't have a customer, but when a carrier with hundreds of trucks doesn't have a customer, that is a terrible, terrible business decision. But anyway, I'm talking more about the single owner ops and, small carriers. It's too easy right now, the way things are, to fail if you're just going to use the spot market. Not many people, when you've got fuel at the cost that it's at right now, and it's still, yes, it's coming down, but for God's sakes, even with my discount, it's still $3. I got it for $3.46 today with my discount. But that's still a lot of money. That is still excessively high, for what it was 3, 4, whatever years ago. It's still way higher than it should be, in my opinion. And then when you contrast that with the rates, gosh, it's difficult now to find a load for over $2 a mile, and if you do, you might have to deadhead 200 or 300 or 400 miles to get it. So I find myself to be very, very fortunate. Mike, the owner of the company that I am leased onto now, which in the next video I'll get more into. I will actually get into some numbers in my next video and talk about how I've been doing, an update and whatnot with Red Eye. But that'll be a little bit. We're going on vacation, the wife and I. We're taking a cruise, so we're going to be gone for a little bit. So I wanted to try to get this out before we go on the cruise. But I am super fortunate to be where I am right now. And, a while back, I'd made a video talking about how I was going to have to start looking at a new avenue, i.e. looking for a company to lease onto. Because I could see that the spot market was just going down like the Edmunds Fitzgerald, the spot market was. And I remember when I left the spot market back in June, I had people telling me I was crazy. I was an idiot for getting off the spot market. It's gonna come back, or it's perfectly fine. You're crazy if you can't, you have too high costs if you can't afford to stay on the spot market, blah, blah, blah. But there's people now that are on the spot market that have very, very little overhead. They don't even have a truck payment, some of them. And they are still barely able to make it work. And I'm sorry, but I don't want to be like that. I wanted to find a different route. I could not settle for that. So I made that video a while back, and Mike got a hold of me and said that he was looking for somebody for this position. And I'll tell you what, guys, I don't really plan on leaving this for the spot market. If the spot market came back to $5 a mile, I'd stay here. Because you know what? I've got consistency right here. I have so much consistency. And to me, that's, after everything that happened with the spot market, the consistency is what matters to me. And, being that I have everybody here has a round trip. We don't even have to get on the spot market to come back. It's a round trip, dedicated load, and we get paid for all miles on the way back. Sometimes I'm completely empty. Sometimes I have 6,000 or 7,000 pounds of empty totes, but I'm never more than like 10 or 11,000 pounds. So I get, it's minimal wear and tear, and obviously better fuel mileage coming back. And we don't have to get on the spot market to find a load to come back to the customer freight. It's all the same. And I tell you what, man, it has really been a game changer for me. And a lot of the drivers out here on the spot market right now, you hear them just, again, I can't blame them necessarily, but they're really, again, they're lack of a better word, they're complaining so much. And it's like, they're not willing to do anything else, though. They're not willing to do something to make it better on them, to at least weather out the storm. And if things get better, then they can go back to the spot market and be more comfortable. But if things don't get better, they'll be in a position that they don't have to worry about going out of business. So that's just that's just my take. That's my take on what success is out here, is adaptation. You have to be able to adapt out here. When I made the decision to buy this truck and stop driving Levi, that was not a lighthearted decision that I made. I didn't want to stop driving that truck. And hell, I still own this truck. And I'm not really in a hurry to sell it. My wife is. She doesn't like forking out, an $1,800 payment every month on a truck that I don't drive. But because of the position I'm in right now, I can. It's not hurting me one bit to fork out that extra $1,800 on a truck that I'm not even driving. It doesn't hurt. So I'm super lucky by that. It's extremely fortunate. So I still have that truck, and hell, I mean, who knows if if it doesn't sell, who knows what I might do? Who knows? Maybe I'll go out and buy a fifth wheel, and I'll sell my motorhome and go out and buy a fifth wheel and use Levi to tow the fifth wheel. Who knows? I don't know. Possibility. But again, if you put yourself in a better position right now, then if the spot market never gets better, you are at least in a better position than you were to sustain, and that's in my mind, that's what you've got to do. But I mean, if you're perfectly fine with struggling on the spot market, then that's up to you. I mean, that's a decision you can make. But, and we're not, the company I'm at, we're not a big company. We're not really, taking on anybody. So, it's not, unfortunately, it's not something like that. We're not hiring really anybody right now. But there are companies out there that are just like the one I'm at. There are other companies. You've got to put some time into it and look for some companies that do dedicated freight. They're out there. Obviously there's a lot of them out there, but in my mind, that's what people need to do right now, is find more security in what we do. Because the spot market, I got a feeling, is forever changing, and there's just nothing we can do about it. We can, like the guy on the Mother Trucker episode that I watched today, we can boycott the brokers and do all this, do that. But it's not going to do anything. I mean, it really isn't. the cut, I mean, the rates just aren't there anymore. They just aren't. Customers, the shippers, are not paying what they were before. You know, I don't really understand why the guy thinks that they are. He wants to say that it's because he's a broker, but I bet you he's not even brokering any freight. We have to be willing to adapt. And if you don't adapt, then you're going to go down like the Edmunds Fitzgerald. It's sad, but it's true. And all I see are spot rates getting lower and lower and lower. I don't see any sign of a spot market rate coming back up. You know, unless it's just like the day of. And again, we are still working on on-demand freight. So when it gets to the day of that it has to be shipped, yeah, it's going to go back. It's going to go up. But it's happening less and less. If you haven't noticed, it's happening less and less. You know, there's other YouTubers on here that preach about waiting till the last minute to bid on a load. And, you know, in years past, yeah, that's the way to do it because of the system that we use, the on-demand system. But even some of those YouTubers have been finding out that it really doesn't matter anymore. If you put your bid in on a load, on a spot market load, you put it in that day, it really doesn't matter. They're already just taking them off the board and shoving them to the next day, or waiting till the following week, you know, or whatever. It's happening already, and it's only going to get, by our perception, it's only going to get worse. By the customer's perception, it's going to get better. So again, it's all about how you look at it. For us, it's not going to get better, I don't believe. And we're also at that point where autonomous trucks are becoming closer and closer to becoming fairly, I don't want to say common, but a more achievable alternative. And the more grief that we give the shippers, the more they're just going to speed that process up. I mean, it's just like, you know, people screaming for minimum wage increments, you know, like $15 minimum wage at like, which, I mean, now it's probably way higher than that, but they want, you know, a $15 minimum wage. Well, the louder people got, the faster the faster that you started seeing kiosks in places like McDonald's and Wendy's and Burger King. You notice that? The louder people got about it, the faster they were replaced. That's just economics. That's just capitalism. You know, just like we're out here to save money and make money, that's exactly what everybody else is doing. You know, and when everybody is trying to make money and save money, we all get hurt. But the ones that have more money already are going to be hurt less because they have the money to put into alternative means of transportation and things like that. So that's just the way it is. I'm sorry. Don't mean to be the bearer of bad tidings, but yeah. You know, but with that said, like I said, I'm pretty pumped. This will be my first cruise since COVID. The February before COVID was a thing. We went on a cruise, and that was the last one I went on. So we had like several cruises that were booked, and they were all canceled because of COVID. And now we've got like, I don't know. We've got several cruises booked now. I know we have one. We're going to go to Alaska in September. Yeah, September. We're going to Alaska in September for, I don't know, 10 days. Disney cruise to Alaska. The wife and I went on a cruise to Alaska a few years back, just her and I, and it was a blast. So we're taking the kids for September. Gorgeous up there, beautiful, beautiful scenery. Yeah, and then last week I went out, and I haven't done this since I was probably 21 or 22, but went out and bought myself a drum set. I haven't had. I used to be a hell of a drummer, man. I was in all kinds of bands. Just, I loved it. I practiced for 3 or 4 hours a day, every day, throughout all 4 years in high school. I mean, and that's that. I'm not exaggerating. I was in marching band. I was a section leader my senior year for the drum line. I was in jazz band. I was in show choir. Played drums in show choir, jazz band, concert band. I had a $10,000 drum set when I was in high school, and I had people that know drums. I don't know if anybody on here does, but I had a 20th anniversary Yamaha recording custom. Beautiful, beautiful. I want to say it was some sort of a burst color, but you could see the wood grain, and it was like a dark tealish blue color. But it was a very limited edition anniversary set. They only made, I want to say, about 250 ever of that drum set, and only 50 in each color. So I had one of 50 drum sets. And man, I cherished that set. I'll tell you what, I cherished the hell out of the drum set. Played it so much. I had a full Gibraltar drum rack, metal drum rack, and I don't know, 6 or 7 Zildjian K custom cymbals, which the K custom, at least back then, the K custom was the cymbal. That was the top of the line cymbal to buy. And then I actually went to college because of drumming. I went to music school at Bowling Green, and it just wasn't my thing, man. I couldn't sit through courses in college. Just couldn't do it. And my instructor there was a complete asshole. Sorry for the language, but he really was. And I'm glad I didn't do it. I'm glad this is the route that I took, because they're really I make fun of liberal arts degrees all the time now, and that's what that would have been. Not something you can make a whole lot of money in, not a very good way to support your family, in my opinion. I started driving truck, and I'm glad I did. But yeah, drumming was always a massive part of my life, and I finally went out and I bought my first ever electronic drum set. I never really liked the electronic sets because they didn't have the right feel. But these new electronic sets have a much more acoustic feel, with the mesh heads and everything like that. They just feel a lot more like an acoustic set now. But I don't know. I might put in a clip of me playing a little bit. I'm super rusty. Don't hold that against me. I'm so rusty compared to how I used to be. But yeah, I went out and bought that set and ended up spending like almost $2,000 at Guitar Center. I got there and I got excited, man. I felt like I was back in high school. Went there and bought the drum set, which I knew what drum set I wanted to buy. It's the Simmons SD 1250. But then I also bought a drum amp. I bought a whole bunch of sticks. I bought, my bass pedal. I bought the throne, which is the seat. Went all out, man. Like I said, walked out of there with about an $1,800 bill is what I walked out of there with. But I'm having a blast with it and relearning what I used to know. But anyways, guys, I might put a clip of that here. We'll see. But if not, you all have a good one out there and stay safe. And as I always say, keep surviving to thrive. Doesn't matter if you have to adapt. If you have to adapt, do it. You know, that's why I made my channel that's why I named it what I named it. Was the idea of, you know, if you can survive to thrive, that might come with some adapting, you know. You might have to adapt to keep surviving out here. I still remember when I made that name. I made that name. I was fueling up Levi, and fuel at the time, I can even tell you the truck stop I was at. I was at the TA, and I think it's considered Eaton, Ohio. The TA on exit 10 on 70 in Ohio. And I was filling up Levi, and the price of fuel was about $3.40 or so. That was the pump price. It was about $3.40. And that was so high to me at the time. That was so high. And I thought to myself, you know, man, if you can survive this economic downtime, then you can thrive. And that's how I came up with the name Survive to Thrive. And I don't see how that, I mean, it couldn't possibly be any better of a fitment right now, because you've really got to be willing to do what you have to do to keep surviving out here. But anyways, that was a very long outro, but y'all have a good one out there. You be safe and survive to thrive, and we will talk at you guys in the next video. Take care. My foot, my ankle, that's the hardest part to get back into what I could do before. That's probably the closest sound to an actual acoustic right there. Modern maple.